Okay, so let's get into this. We're doing a deep dive today into um, what you could almost call the physics of everyday life.
Hmm.
How these huge monumental achievements are actually built on, oh, well, on microscopic effort.
It's the compound interest of self-improvement. That's the perfect way to frame it.
Yeah, and the math here is just wild. If you get just 1% better every single day for a year, you don't end up a little bit better.
No, not at all. It's exponential. The sources show you actually end up a shocking 37 times better. Or, well, to be precise, 3.65 times better than where you started.
That tiny edge repeated daily.
Yeah.
That's really where the magic is.
And that calculation is the whole foundation for our deep dive today, which focuses on James Clear's work on atomic habits.
Right.
And that word he uses, atomic, is so specific. It's the single, irreducible unit of a bigger system. We're not looking for the big breakthrough.
Yep.
We're looking for the fundamental units, the atoms of behavior that, when they all add up, create those massive results you mentioned.
And the core idea is shifting from the goal to the system.
It's exactly the system.
And what makes this so powerful, I think, is that he didn't just come up with this in a lab. This whole system was born out of a real crisis for him.
Yeah, a major traumatic injury.
He used these exact systems to build himself back up.
Mhm.
I mean, going from being cut from the varsity baseball team to making the team as a senior.
And then becoming the top male athlete at his university.
It just proves that these 1% changes, they're not some theory. They're a practical blueprint for performance.
A working blueprint, yeah. So to really illustrate this, let's start with maybe the ultimate case study. The turnaround of British cycling. Oh, it's a perfect example.
For nearly 100 years they were. I mean, they were basically a joke in the sport. They'd won a single gold medal since 1908.
And no British cyclist had won the Tour de France in 110 years. It was a century of, well, mediocrity.
So then Dave Brailsford takes over as performance director, and he introduces this idea of the aggregation of marginal gains.
Right, and his whole philosophy was simple, but pretty radical. Break down everything you could possibly think of about riding a bike and just improve each part by 1%.
And they got so granular, it wasn't just the obvious things like, I don't know, aerodynamics or muscle training.
Not at all. I mean, sure, they redesigned the bike seats for comfort and tested fabrics in a wind tunnel. That's the stuff you'd expect.
They also hired a surgeon to teach riders the absolute best way to wash their hands to avoid getting sick.
Yeah. Or they'd figure out the exact pillow and mattress that led to the best possible sleep for each rider.
The most famous one for me is painting the inside of the team truck white.
So they could spot any tiny speck of dust that might get into the bike mechanics.
Just these hundreds of tiny, seemingly unrelated adjustments.
Yeah.
And the result.
Within 5 years, at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, they won 60% of the available gold medals. It was an astonishing turnaround.
And it wasn't a fluke either. The system just kept working. Bradley Wiggins wins the Tour de France in 2012, then Chris Froome wins 4 more times.
They dominated the sport, not with one huge change, but with hundreds of tiny ones stacked on top of each other.
And this highlights that compounding is sort of a double-edged sword, right?
Absolutely. Time just multiplies whatever you feed it. We love to talk about the good side small productivity gains freeing you up, or how learning one new thing helps you connect other ideas.
But the negative compounding is the part we ignore.
Yeah.
Those tiny bits of stress or always being 5 minutes late. Things that feel manageable day to day.
But over years, they compound into, well, broken relationships or real health problems. Marginal gains can lead to decline just as easily as they lead to improvement.
So how do we even see that negative slope before it's too late?
Well, that's the point of building a system in the first place. It forces you to be aware of the inputs. You can't focus on the daily 1% of good without also noticing the 1% of bad you might be adding.
Okay, so let's pivot to that idea of systems versus goals. Because successful and unsuccessful people, they often have the exact same goals.
They do. Every athlete wants to win the championship. Every business wants to be profitable. The goal isn't the differentiator.
So what is?
It's the process. It's the system of continuous, small, and honestly, often unexciting improvements. Winning the tour is the goal, but the system is the training, the nutrition, the sleep, and the white team trucks.
Right. Goals are for direction, but systems are what actually get you there.
Yeah.
But that requires so much patience.
Oh, it's brutal.
Because the graph of what we expect is just a straight line. Put in effort, get results. But the reality is that exponential curve that starts out almost completely flat.
And that flat period is what Clear calls the valley of disappointment.
Yes.
You're doing the work for a month, 2 months, and you see nothing. No change on the scale, no progress in your project. And that's when almost everyone quits.
Right before the curve is about to kick in.
Exactly. It's so hard to keep going when there's no payoff. You're putting in the work and the world just seems to shrug.
So how do you push through that?
You have to trust the process. There's the analogy of the stonecutter, right? He hammers at a rock 100 times and not a single crack appears.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the 101st blow, it splits in two. It wasn't that last hit that did it. It was all the work that came before. Mastery requires patience. Okay, so let's start building that system. The first law of behavior change. Make it obvious. This gets at the fact that so much of what we do, maybe 40%, is just automatic. It's non-conscious. Our brains are just running these pre-programmed scripts to be efficient.
So the first step is just awareness. The strategy is called the habit scorecard. You just list out everything you do in a normal day, from waking up to sleeping, and then you just rate them. Plus for good, minus for bad, equals for neutral. And that just forces you to see what you're actually doing, not what you think you're doing.
Exactly. And once you can see the cues that trigger your habits, you can start to play with the environment.
I love this insight about willpower, that disciplined people don't have more of it. They're just better at designing their lives so they don't need it.
The environment matters so much more than your internal motivation on any given day.
Right.
Look at that Anne Thorndike study in the hospital cafeteria. She didn't give a lecture on healthy eating. She just changed the choice architecture.
She added water to the fridges by the cash register.
Right, where before it was only soda. And just from that one change, soda sales dropped over 11%, and water sales went up by almost 26%.
Because it was the first thing people saw. It was obvious.
It's about making the good habit unavoidable and the bad one invisible.
Like the famous fly sticker in the urinals at the Schiphol airport.
A perfect example. It gave people a subconscious target, improved aim, and cut cleaning costs by 8%.
Yep.
The cue was tiny, but super effective.
So for you at home, this is as simple as moving the apples from the crisper drawer in the fridge where you can't see them.
And putting them in a nice bowl on the counter. You don't need a sudden craving for an apple. You just need to see it when you're hungry.
Okay, so if law 1 is about the cue, being obvious, what's next? Next beat is law 2, make it attractive. This is about the craving. If a behavior feels appealing, our brain releases dopamine, and that's what drives us to act. So this is the motivation piece. And a great strategy for this is temptation bundling.
Yes. You pair an action you need to do with an action you want to do.
Like the engineer who only let himself watch Netflix if he was on a stationary bike.
Exactly. He wired it so the TV would only play if he was pedaling above a certain speed.
Right.
He bundled the immediate reward of Netflix with the difficult habit of exercise.
And you can combine this with another technique, right? Habit stacking.
Right.
This uses both law 1, the cue, and law 2, the attraction, together. The formula is basically, after my current habit, I will do my new habit. So you're not trying to find a new time in your day. You're just tethering the new habit to one that's already automatic.
For sure. So maybe your current habit is making coffee every morning. You just stack the new habit onto it. After I pour my coffee, I will write down 3 things I'm grateful for. The coffee becomes the automatic trigger for the new desirable behavior. So once it's obvious and attractive, we get to law 3. Make it easy. This is all about action. The core idea is the law of least effort. We are biologically wired to take the path of least resistance.
So you have to reduce the friction. Make it as easy as possible to do the right thing.
And you have to remember that habits form through frequency, not time. It's just about getting the reps in.
Like that University of Florida photography class experiment.
A classic. He split the class in 2. The quantity group was graded just on the number of photos they took. The quality group was graded on making one single perfect photo.
And all the best photos came from?
The quantity group. Every time, because they were busy doing the work, experimenting, making mistakes.
Getting the reps.
Getting the reps, exactly. While the quality group was sitting around just theorizing about what perfection looked like, repetition is the key.
So this leads to the idea of priming the environment, setting up your space for future use.
Right. If you want to run in the morning, you lay out your clothes, your shoes, your water bottle, everything the night before. You lower the activation energy.
There's that great example of Oswald Knuckles and his proactive laziness.
I love that one. He would always reset the room, fold the blanket, put the remote back, not just to be tidy, but to prepare the space to be easily used the next time. He was making it easy for his future self.
And you see this in business and government, too. Reducing friction is huge.
Totally. Look at the Japanese TV manufacturers in the 70s. Their whole lean production was about removing waste, redesigning factories so workers didn't have to waste a second twisting or reaching for a tool.
And efficiency just skyrockets.
Or that British government example trying to get people to pay taxes on time. They changed one tiny thing. Instead of a link that took you to a page where you had to download a form,
They just link directly to the form itself.
one less click, one tiny piece of friction removed. And the response rate jumped from 19.2% to 23.4%. That's the power of making it easy. Okay, so now for the final law. Law 4. Make it satisfying. This one feels like the biggest challenge. It is, because it fights against our basic wiring.
Right, this problem of the time gap. Our brains evolved for an immediate return environment. We want the payoff now.
But modern life is a delayed return environment. Saving for retirement, building a career. The rewards are years away. And our brain consistently prioritizes our present self over our future self.
So we have to somehow engineer immediate satisfaction.
You have to.
Yeah.
The cardinal rule is that behaviors followed by satisfying consequences get repeated. We need to feel good about it right now.
Let's talk about that hand-washing study in Karachi. The health workers knew that people understood they should wash their hands,
All right.
but they weren't.
Right, and the solution wasn't more education, it was better soap. They introduced a premium scented soap.
So the immediate pleasant smell and the feel of the lather was an instant reward.
Exactly, that was the satisfaction. And that led to sustained behavior change, which cut the community's diarrhea rate in half.
Another way to do this is with tracking. Making progress visible is satisfying.
The paperclip strategy is the famous one here. This stockbroker, Trent Beersmid, started each day with 2 jars. One had 120 paperclips in it. Every time he made a sales call, he moved 1 paperclip to the empty jar. And his only goal was to move all 120 clips by the end of the day.
The visual of that empty jar becoming full was the immediate reward.
It's so satisfying. And it worked. He brought in $5 million for the firm in 18 months.
But what about avoiding a bad habit? How do you make not doing something satisfying?
You have to make the avoidance visible. For example, open a savings account and label it something you really want, like leather jacket.
I see.
Every time you skip buying a $5 latte, you immediately transfer that $5 into the account. The reward is seeing that account balance tick up toward your goal.
And for the really tough habits, there's the social contract, using accountability.
Yeah, the Brian Harris example is extreme but effective. He signed a contract with his wife and his trainer. If he missed tracking his food or a workout, the punishments were immediate and painful.
He had to wear a full suit to work every day for a quarter.
And pay his trainer $200. The immediate pain of the consequence makes sticking to the long-term habit satisfying by comparison.
Okay, once you have that system, the 4 laws are in place. How do you really maximize your returns?
This is where you get into advanced tactics. It comes down to context and finding the game where your natural talents give you an edge.
It's about picking the right pond for your fish, so to speak.
Exactly. Look at Michael Phelps, the swimmer, and Hikam El Gurouj, the runner. They're elite athletes, but their body types are, well, they're wildly different.
Right. Phelps is super tall, but they wear the same length pants, which is crazy.
It is. Phelps has this really long torso and short legs, perfect for moving through water. El Gurouj has incredibly long legs and a short torso, perfect for distance running.
If you swap their sports, their natural strengths would suddenly become huge weaknesses.
And that's the whole lesson. Your traits are only advantages in the right environment. This applies to personality, too.
The big 5 personality traits.
Yeah. Openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, and so on. They have biological roots, and they influence which habits will feel naturally satisfying to you.
So if you're high in conscientiousness, tracking with paper clips is going to feel really good.
Right. If you're high in agreeableness, a social contract will work better for you because you're wired to value those social bonds. You have to lean into your wiring, not fight it.
And what if you can't find the right game to play?
Then you create your own. This is the Scott Adams, the Dilbert creator strategy. He knew he wasn't the world's best artist. He wasn't the world's best comedian.
But he was okay at both.
He was okay at both, and he had a business background. The combination of those average skills created a unique niche where almost no one could compete with him. Sometimes you win not by being better, but by being different. So our mission was to see how these tiny changes lead to remarkable results. And we've got the blueprint. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. But as you go out and start applying these, especially the tracking parts, we have to leave you with one final warning. It comes from economics, actually. It's called Goodhart's Law.
Which is...
Then when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure.
So we start optimizing for the measurement itself.
Exactly. You get a fitness tracker and you start obsessing over your step count instead of your actual health. Or you focus on moving 120 paper clips and the quality of your sales calls goes down. So here's the final thought for you to take away. If you do this, if you successfully use these systems to track your habits, what's the risk that you start optimizing for the number, for the measurement, instead of the real purpose behind the habit? And how do you stop that brilliant system from, in the end, betraying your long-term identity?